Again, my name is Scott Horan. I'm Assistant Superintendent for Operations, and redistricting falls under my responsibility. Tonight, I'd like to, we're going to give you a presentation on the options associated with this particular redistricting effort. I'm going to talk a little bit about the elementary school enrollment forecast, and then we're going to go through 4 options that we've provided to the school board based on some input they provided us during several work sessions around the holidays. And then we'll talk about the planned schedule. The elementary school enrollment forecast that was produced in October of this year shows Margaret Brent, one of the schools that we're concerned with a enrollment capacity at the school this year of rising. Now, it certainly right now shows Margaret Brent in September, at the end of September, at 898 students. That has since increased to 925 in that range. So those students, the projection of those students coming are in fact coming, and we project that there's going to be more. So that was a concern to us. We have some students here in the England Run area that are going to Margaret Brent. They were redistricted back about 6 or 7 years ago, to Margaret Brent for overcrowding at Rocky Run. So that was a concern of ours when the youth forecast came out. We also were asked by the school board to look at, they were concerned with some travel distances that both the kids here in England Run that were going to Margaret Brent, as well as a neighborhood in England Run that was going to Ferry Farm. And they wanted to see if there was an opportunity that we could address those travel distances. And then a third item, Falmouth, which was purposely not considered a school to receive students during the 2010-11 redistricting because it was going through a renovation. It has some capacity, and so we see that as a possible opportunity to address some of this overcrowding and some of these bus link issues. So that's what essentially drove out of the forecast. We drove those concerns, we brought them up to the school board, and so we had some dialogue during work sessions. Here's the elementary school redistricting attendance areas for all 17 of our elementary schools. The area that I circled is the England Run area here. It's very dense area, a lot of townhomes, a lot of apartments, a lot of single-family housing condensed in a very small geographic area. We actually have 5 elementary schools that support this small area. So I'm going to blow this up in the next slide and show you. We have the purple is the Rocky Run Elementary School attendance zone. The blue goes to the blue in the far right corner, which is the Margaret Brent attendance zone. You have the light green, which is Hartwood, coming down, and then you have yellow, which is Falmouth, and you can see there's a small island that connects to that goes with the Falmouth, and then at the bottom you have the darker green, and that's Ferry Farm Elementary. So you have 5 elementary schools that attendance areas that all converge in this very dense, small geographic region. We have 4 options that we presented to the school board to address those issues that I mentioned earlier. We have concerns with the overcrowding of Margaret Brent, and we have the concerns with the travel distances for both Margaret Brent students as well as the Ferry Farm students, and we have capacity at Falmouth. To address that. So the first option addresses the 2 neighborhoods at Margaret Brent, and I'll go to the next slide. The England Run North section, 4 and 7, it would be from Margaret Brent to Falmouth, and then the Manors at England Run from Margaret Brent to Falmouth. And these are the particular numbers. I won't go into those details, but I'll leave them up for a few minutes. And these are all on our website, and they're available to be downloaded by the citizens. But you can see it provides and these are based on the enrollment projections that we produced in October. Now we know that some of these schools have gained students and some have lost students. And in Margaret Brent's case, that enrollment projection has gone up. So we have more students at Margaret Brent as the school year goes on. You can see the percentages based on this particular option. You have Margaret Brent at 83%, Falmouth at 87, and Ferry Farm at 90. Ferry Farm would remain the same under this particular option. Redistricting option number 2. It would take the neighborhood England Run Point, which goes to Ferry Farm currently, we would take that neighborhood and then the Manners of England Run, which goes to Margaret Brent, and move both those neighborhoods to Falmouth Elementary School. You can see the percentages at Margaret Brent go to 87%, Falmouth at 88%, and Ferry Farm at 83%. Option 3 would be to move just one neighborhood, the Manners of England Run, and they would go to Falmouth from Margaret Brent. And the percentages are 87 at Margaret Brent, 82 at Falmouth, and 90 at Ferry Farm. And then option 4 is to move the England Run Point neighborhood, again, the students that currently go to Ferry Farm, move them to Falmouth, and you can see the percentages are 94% at Margaret Brent, 80% at Falmouth, and 83% at Ferry Farm. Again, I just want to note that some of the numbers, the current attendance, has changed since these forecasts were run. But for to keep consistency, we're using the same forecast in the decision making, but we'll provide that additional information to the school board. And here's the schedule. I mentioned that we had 2 work sessions that we talked with the school board before the holidays, November 29th and December 20th. Both those work sessions, we debated and dialogued about these different issues. There are concerns, the forecast issues, and we obtained direction from the school board. We have a public hearing tonight here at Gale, and then the school board is set to take for information this particular redistricting action on April 11th. That's Tuesday night. And then based on the following meeting on April 25th, they'll be set to make a decision on that, and then we would take action in notifying the families, if any, that are impacted, and then the redistricting would go into effect at the beginning of next school year. Yes, ma'am. You're right, I apologize. That's incorrect because it goes to you twice. And it'll go August 25th. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. April. I love August. It's my birthday. I'm a Leo. Okay, so that concludes the presentation. I believe the public hearing will be open. The school board members will go up on the dais, and then any citizens. So if we have anyone that wants to come down and.
Yep. Okay, we got it now. I think they're working on trying to get that down. So I can at least go through a little bit of the. So what we will do this evening, if you've signed in and even if you haven't, what we will do is we have 2 microphones you'll see on either side just to keep it flowing. I'll have call out names for each microphone. We'll just alternate. We'll go through it like that. I'll call the names that I have cards for. Again, at the conclusion of those, I will invite anybody else who wishes to speak. Then we will certainly take those into consideration. And so let me just give the opening that I always do for public comment. When you come up, if you will identify yourself by name, address, and district, organizational affiliation, if you represent an organization. 3 minutes will be allotted to speakers. The timer will indicate when, actually not tonight, we have our timekeeper here, our clerk. Any citizen's comment which is profane, abusive, or which threatens imminent physical harm shall be ruled out of order by the chairman. Remember, we will not be dialoguing with you. We will probably take notes. We will do that and consider that. So this is your time to communicate with the school board your thoughts on the matter. So what I'm going to do is the microphone to my left, if you're approaching, probably your right, if we could have Michelle Goshorn, Catherine Willis, and Hillary Taylor over for this microphone. And then on this microphone, we could have Kristen Kane and Eric Pacheco, I think. Because what I just thought we would do is we just alternate with phone numbers. So I'll give everybody a moment to sort of get in place, and anybody else who wishes to speak, feel free to come on down and sit in that front row. That would be great.
Okay. Do I need to? Okay, fine. Let's see if I can read this. Hello, my name is Michelle Goshorn. I live at 20 Fletcher Drive in the England Run single-family homes. We have 3 sons in the school system: Colonial Forge, Gale Middle, and Falmouth. We're lucky enough to have 2 schools in the redistricting, so Facebook has been fun the past few months. I'd like to point out, though, my youngest is in 5th grade, so this redistricting does not affect my family at all. Regardless, I felt compelled to take time out of my family's busy schedule to come speak to you tonight. Our family has been at Falmouth for 11 years, and I feel it's important for you to take the time to understand the issues here before you move too many students to them. This started as about 60 kids from Ferry Farm that were being redistricted due to overcrowding and long bus rides and feeder patterns. For Stafford County at this point to redistrict due to anything other than overcrowding seems more like a Band-Aid approach that we've used in the past. When you speak of feeder patterns, be aware that you are sitting in an island of single-family homes that have a unique feeder pattern. Between 10 to 15 students from Falmouth come here to Gale each year, only 10 to 15. Additionally, these Ferry Farm students will not go on to Colonial Forge, the main high school from here. They will go to Stafford High School. So it's another unique feeder pattern. When you speak about long bus rides, you're sitting in an island of homes that have a 45 to an hour bus ride to high school and are a second load at the elementary. So our kids aren't getting home anyway until 4:40, 4:45, 5 o'clock. Nothing is going to be solved by moving these Ferry Farm kids at this point. I realize that Margaret Brent is over capacity and Falmouth absolutely should take some of those students. In making that decision, though, please look at our program capacity. We just took 2 preschool classes that y'all approved in January. And as part of that approval process, the director got in front of you and talked about the challenges of finding a place for that program and how difficult it was. And these are South Stafford students that will feed into Falmouth. So that was very important in that decision. During the Conway redistricting, there was a discussion to take 105 students from Hickory Ridge. That geographically made sense. It's right beside Falmouth. In that redistricting, all 3 schools agreed that Falmouth could not take that many kids at that point. Realistically, we can only take between 45 to 65 kids. We are a Title I school that has struggled with test scores. We have a dedicated administration and staff that has made great strides, but taking 100 to 120 students will impact everyone at that school. Ms. JP is not only a great principal, she is my friend, much like many at Falmouth. I know without a doubt, if you told her she had to take 100 or 150 or 200, she and that staff would absolutely do it in a heartbeat, and she would work every waking moment. I don't know when the woman sleeps, trying to ensure that every student got what they needed, but they shouldn't have to do that. I'm asking you to look at the program capacity of these schools. I'm asking you to consider only option 3, and I'm asking you not to put Falmouth back in a position of making it difficult to continue on the road of improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Kristen, you want to go ahead?
Kristen Kanu. I am at 7 Crimson Way, and I have 2 children at Falmouth. I am nowhere near as polished as Michelle, so I apologize for that. I have a 2nd grader and a 4th grader, and my feeling is that when you are comparing Falmouth to the other schools, you are comparing apples and oranges, because you have Falmouth as a Title I, the other schools are not. You have Falmouth who has 2 preschool classes, the others do not. You have Falmouth that has an MD class and 2 LS2 classes. All 3 of those classes require so much work and dedication and extra resources and services. So when you compare Falmouth to the other elementary schools, you have to take 5 extra classes and a Title I status into consideration. When saying that Falmouth has the capacity to, take on 100+ kids, you're talking about moving around classrooms, perhaps taking away the PT and OT room. And what I would like to know is, and I know you guys can't answer questions, has the OT and PT even been, asked how this will impact their services, and can they provide the services for the children that need them at the capacity that they are now? Also, moving the music room right next to the library, and I understand that there would be soundproof, walls, but has the music teacher and the librarian been asked about this? I don't know. I am not musically inclined. I don't know anything about music. But Our music teacher is an expert, and so how would soundproof, walls impact the music? Could our music teacher and our librarian, who are excellent, teach at the caliber they do now with this change? I don't know. I haven't asked them, but I would like to know if others have asked them, along with the PT and the OT, along with using the resource room, which is where LD teachers pull out children to work with them. We already have teachers testing in hallways. Where now, if the resource rooms are taken and put into classrooms, where are these LD teachers going to pull out these kids that obviously are struggling and need that extra help? Thank you.
Catherine.
Hi, my name is Catherine Willis, 43 Sapphire Street, Falmouth District. I am the parent of 2 Falmouth Elementary School students, a 4th grader and a kindergartner. I will start by asking that you consider the uniqueness of a Title I school and the services provided to set the stage for student success while you are making a decision on the elementary redistricting. Increasing the capacity of any school can be challenging, but more so for a school classified as Title I. Upon reviewing the information presented on the website regarding the elementary school redistricting, I'm concerned about options 1 and 2 due to the number of proposed students those options would place at Falmouth. Options 1 and 2 propose to move 110 plus students into Falmouth and would push the capacity to 87% and 88% respectively. Option 2 would set the capacity of Falmouth higher than both Ferry Farm and Margaret Brent. When considering that Falmouth is a Title I school, pushing the capacity of this school this high would be detrimental to the students and the services provided. We need to look for solutions that set our students up for success and having the space in the building to provide the necessary additional services. Option 4 moves students from Ferry Farm to Falmouth. Based on the information for projections in the out years, Ferry Farm capacity is shown to decrease over time, and therefore moving students from Ferry Farm to Falmouth has no merit. Some school board members have noted bus rides as a reason for relocating these students, but Falmouth students currently have similar bus rides, and redistricting the proposed neighborhoods from Ferry Farm would not solve that issue. This leaves option 3, moving 65 students from Margaret Brent to Falmouth, and I believe this is the best option of the ones presented. It will help with the capacity issue at Margaret Brent and will not place an undue hardship on Falmouth and the services provided to our students. The administration and staff at Falmouth work tirelessly to help our students succeed, and as a result, we have seen an increase in test scores. We need to keep the upward momentum, not put a roadblock in place for student success. Increasing the capacity of a Title I school significantly will make it difficult to ensure that all student needs are met and will have an impact on the continued progress of Falmouth. Please keep in mind that the 3 schools involved in this redistricting are not equal from a demographics perspective, and thus the number of students moved to Falmouth should be limited. In closing, I ask that you look at program capacity for Falmouth with the inclusion of the preschool classes that were recently added and consider this information in your final decision. I also ask that you visit Falmouth and see how the school is utilized today to meet our students' needs. I believe that Falmouth can take between 45 and 65 additional students and will be able to continue to provide services required. Any more than this is a disservice to the students and the entire Falmouth community. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric? Excuse me.
Good evening. My name is Eric Pacheco. I live at 76 Carriage Hill Drive, and I have 2 kids presently attending Falmouth. I want to speak tonight in opposition of adding so many students to Falmouth Elementary. The addition of these students to Falmouth will have several drastically negative effects on the school. One such effect will be on our multiple disability students. These students have a wide range of needs, and Falmouth is able to provide for those needs because of how our student body is comprised. Falmouth stands to lose a very important tool called the sensory room. This sensory room provides a safe area where these students can escape the confines of their conditions. The floor is padded in the sensory room so that these wonderful students can move about free from the fear of injury due to a fall. Physical therapy is also partially provided in the sensory rooms. This sensory room gets converted to a standard classroom with the influx of students, so bye-bye sensory room. Secondly, we have an amazing music teacher named Mr. Peabody, who conducts an interactive and hands-on music class. His chorus program is the pride of Falmouth. More students means the music room gets converted and moved to a room adjacent to the library. Now you either distract students in the library or you muffle the music program. Third, our computer lab goes away. The computer lab becomes a mobile lab consisting of laptops, further restricting the movement of students and confining them to their classrooms. When you consider the reasons given for this needed change, the math just doesn't add up. Overcrowding at Ferry Farms and Margaret Brent may be reduced, but the quality of education at Falmouth will decrease tremendously. In a few years, Falmouth will encounter the very same overcrowding issues present at the other schools today. Transportation problems will shift to Falmouth and not be alleviated at all. The question I come back to again and again is why? Are the other schools behind Falmouth in terms of academics and test scores? No. These other schools, with their high percentage of capacity, are still doing better academically than their kids at Falmouth. Yet, we are considering further hindering the potential of our kids by bringing an influx of kids and limiting our resources further. The negative impact to all of the students of Falmouth, both present and future, is too great to be justified by transit and overcrowding. Are the students in our communities less deserving of a quality education? An education that would require them to drown their library in noise or silence their music and lose their sensory room? No, they aren't less deserving. It is unreasonable to expect us to be okay with this poorly thought out proposal. Thank you. And I hope you guys limit the amount of students you send over to Falmouth.
Hi there, my name is Hillary Taylor and I live at 1339 Carriage Hill Drive in the Falmouth District with my husband and 3 children. We have a 7th grader at Drew Middle School, a 5th grader and a kindergartner at Falmouth, and we are in our 8th year of being part of the Falmouth family. In 2014, I was part of the redistricting committee that redistricted Conway, Grafton, and Falmouth. And one of the points that we kept coming back to during the process was that Falmouth needed to stay at or under 85% design capacity because of its Title I status and the needs of the students at the school. They're different than a non-Title I school. The principals and SCPS agreed with this methodology. Currently, Falmouth does sit under 85% design capacity, and the school has room to take more students. But there is a point where taking too many could be potentially detrimental to the academic success of the students at our school. We would lose vital space that helps the students with reading, math, and other academic skills. In addition to our K-5 classrooms, we have, like people have said, the 2 LS2 classrooms, the 1 MD classroom, and the 2 new early childhood special education classrooms, which were, again, just added this year. And approximately 10 of those students who are in the preschool program are zoned to attend Falmouth once they move to kindergarten. Margaret Brent is overcrowded, and this is a real reason to redistrict those students from there to Falmouth. This is why I support option 3. This option helps to support a school that is facing classrooms with large numbers of students, and at the same time, it keeps Falmouth at a level where the school can continue to serve its population and give the students and our staff the tools that they need for success. One important question is why redistrict these schools? Is it because of busing? Is it because of feeder patterns? Is it because of overcrowding? Busing and feeder patterns really are not a reason to redistrict in Stafford County, as many of the schools in our county face these same issues on a daily basis. The only way to solve those problems are to do a county-wide redistricting that is addressed from a holistic approach, not just a not in my school approach. The board needs to start doing what is right for all the students in our elementary schools and not move children from school to school without a good solid reason that is not political but focuses on how we can give our students a quality education that propels them forward to be successful in middle and high school. Continued Band-Aid redistricting fixes do nothing to solve the problems that our county faces. Do not redistrict just because of an island or because someone is speaking loudly. Redistrict because it makes sense. Use the facts, but learn about the students and the resources that are utilized day in and day out at the schools. Visit Falmouth, see our students, watch our teachers. Adding over 100 or even 60 more students to Falmouth will negatively impact the student population. Help our children be successful. Thank you.
Those are all the speaker cards, excuse me, that we have this evening. If anybody else would like to speak, come on down to the front row and let us know what you're thinking. We want to hear any other comments. I don't see anybody rushing forward. I don't want to close out. I see nobody rushing forward. Okay, just seeing if anybody's doing the look. If not, we'll close the public hearing. I want to say to you all, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for your comments that you thought through and for giving us additional facts and figures to consider. Again, please know, we've certainly heard your comments. However, if for some reason you would like to share them with our clerk, she can distribute them to us, so we have a written version of them. You can always send emails as well. But I just wanted to offer that to you. Again, I thank you all for coming this evening, and we will have this on for the 28th, correct, for information and then action on the 11th. Why don't you-
Well, if I could take.
Yes, I was going to say, why don't you
privilege.
take that one?
I do want to thank you guys for coming out, and especially the guys who spoke. Anyone else really?
I know.
Come on down. We want to hear
We
from
don't
you.
bite.
I would encourage my fellow members. I held a town hall on this a couple weeks ago, and many of the folks that were here tonight were there as well and spoke, and we had some interaction. I videoed it, and it is my Facebook page. I encourage you, if you have some time, to go ahead and review that. And we had more time there. They were able to get in more depth of their concerns, so it's good information. But Mr. Horan, on the slide you had it on the April 11th meeting as on for information, correct?
Yeah, I was incorrect.
On the slide he did, but then
Yeah.
he sort of corrected himself.
Yes, sir. I was
The one
incorrect.
moved out to August. So it'll be on information April 11th, and then it'll be decided most likely, unless, action of the board changes or anything, April 25th, is it? Our meeting then.
We do have somebody else, so if you want to go ahead, since you have
Come
the
on
mic,
down,
go
I
ahead,
know.
come on down.
I did not prepare a written statement.
That's okay.
I was here to kind of just get more information, but everything that my fellow parents have said. My name is Jennifer Henderson, and I have a second grader at Falmouth. And I've been so impressed with the school, but everything that they have said is totally true. I mean, the capacity right now, what Mrs. JP and what the teachers do is great, but we are what everyone has said is true, and I just want to reiterate that. Please listen to what they said, because I volunteer in the school, I'm on the PTO, and I see what's going on there, and what they're talking about with the disabilities and the sensory room is so true. so please consider all of that. I just wanted to reiterate what they said. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming forward. See, it wasn't too hard. So if anybody else wants an opportunity, all right, well, if not, again, thank you all so much for coming out this evening. And I really appreciate how much you all are involved in your child's school. As you know, we have such great schools in Stafford County, but a lot of that is pushed by certainly our great students and staff, but it's also about great parents. So I really thank you all for coming out and for investing the time to come out this evening. And have a great St. Patrick's Day tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.